Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 6 here on Sudbury with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, we are picking it up right where we left off. I'm even standing in a grass field, albeit a different one, but it is still April 2nd. It's about 8:30 in the morning, about a half hour in game from where I left you the last time. And it is haying time here on the farm, so that means it's time for the old D21 to shine. But there has been a big change, and that is I have added the moisture system by Oz. So no more do we just mow the grass, ted it once, and have hay. We get hay once our mowed grass, I guess I should say, has dried down to below 7%, I think it is. And so tedding will have effect on drying, and the weather will have effect on drying. So it's very similar to the seasons of FS19, if you remember that. But with the mod, we get some information, some data that we can look at. So let's just take a quick look at that because that'll explain a few things. Actually, let's start here on the calendar. So we have a calendar, and what this calendar does or shows us, it defines the moisture levels we can expect in our fields based on the weather of that particular month. So we're here in April, so our fields are going to be somewhere between 7 and 20%. From what I understand, they'll never go outside that band, but they'll be somewhere in there based on what the weather conditions we've experienced in that particular month. And you can see they vary pretty much every month. You can see some months here. June, for example, the expected moisture range is between 5 and 16%. If we had a dry month in June, we could actually mow our grass and it would instantly turn to hay. So we have that piece of information in our pocket, and then we get a table, and this table is going to define the impact our crop moisture is going to have on the sell price. So if we just look at barley, the top line here, if we have grade A barley somewhere between 12 and 14% moisture, we're going to get 100%. We have moisture grades that will define grade B, and we'll get 92%. Grade C and grade D, and the price, is affected as we move down the grade scale. The price impact can be more significant on some crops than other. If we go and look at canola, for example, grade D is all the way down to 50%, where grade D on barley up here was 65. But the important thing to note here is that if the crop is not in this list, it's not affected by the moisture system. It has picked up some of our custom crops here, like there's rye, there's poppy, what else? Spell, triticale. So the mod has picked up some of the custom crops we have on the map. So that's pretty cool. But anything, like I said, not on this list is not affected by the mod. And you can see there's no variation in sell price for hay. It's hay or it's grass. That's what the moisture system's going to affect. So how do we tell what our moisture is in our field, you ask? Oh, very good question. I've got to change views here, and we have I think it used to be called the lobster, but it's just a moisture meter here. So if we take a reading up here on the hill, we can see we're at 13.86 moisture here. Now I'm standing up on this hill because if I run down the hill and go in this low spot, now it's not much of an elevation change, but we should still see a slight change. And we did. And that's one big difference in the mechanic between FS19. It was, the whole field had uniform moisture. Here, with Oz's system, the moisture takes into account field elevation. The idea being is, if it rains, water would run downhill and accumulate here in these low spots, and they'd be a little bit wetter. So it kind of makes sense. The impact for us in haymaking is it means the grass windrow we have down here will have to dry a little bit more than that on top of the hill. Okay, one last thing I want to show you. It's a big difference between the 19 system and Oz's. Is if we go in here and look at settings. Oh, we want to be our game settings here. We will have settings within the moisture system. So here's where we can set our environment. It's kind of like the old geos. but very simplified. We can have a dry environment, a normal environment, and a wet. And I've left it on normal, which is the default. But then we have the ability to adjust how fast our moisture will, how fast it'll dry, basically. How fast we'll lose moisture, how fast we'll gain moisture if it's raining, what effect our tedding is going to have on the grass, whether our bales, if exposed to rain or left sitting on the environment, will rot, how fast they'll rot, how fast they'll dry after the rain. And then this one just shows adds the field moisture to the field info system. So as you run across the field, you can get a moisture indication. You don't need to use the little meter we just used. And then this is how the meter records. But that is something we didn't have access to, so we can fine tune how the system works. And what I've done is I've moved every one of these sliders, if you want to call it, 1 point in our favor, just to make life a little bit easier for us here as we get started. Because I have not played with it, we are doing the Farmer Murphy play testing, as I usually do. So the very last thing we need to look at, I should have left this open, is we want to take a look at the weather when we're going to make hay. And you can see here, April 2nd, like I said, we have a pretty nice haymaking day. Reasonable breeze, nice and sunny, a little bit of a cloudy time here midday. Not super hot, but it should still, dry down. We definitely want to try and get our hay made today, though, because looks like it's going to rain tomorrow. So that's something we want to look at when we're doing or thinking about making our hay. The rest, I think we can talk about from the tractor seat. So let's get this old girl unfolded here. So if we had, it didn't look like there was going to be any kind of good drying weather in April at all. In that situation, we might want to leave our haymaking till the following month, for example. Now we can ted multiple times. So we're at about 14%. So we need to get it down 7%. So basically, if we tedded 3 times, we'd have hay. But that isn't kind of realistically what you do, and that's not what we're going to do. Is we're going to mow this grass, and then we're going to sit and let it dry for a little while. Like I said, the environment will dry it, and then we'll come out and ted it, and then we'll leave it sit for a little bit, and then maybe we'll ted it one more time, and we'll have our hay. So basically, tedding will take it down 6%, and the other I'm hoping for the environment. But like I said, I have not used this at all. I did speed up the drying a little bit, so we'll just have to kind of monitor it throughout the day. But we definitely want to do what we need to do to get it baled up and picked up today, because we don't know when the rain is going to arrive. So we don't want to risk it. We want to get it done today. Now, from what I understand, the moisture does not affect the yield on the field. It just affects the grade of the crop and the sell price of it. And we'll really see that moisture change across the field come to play when we go and look at our corn, because that field where we put our corn in has a pretty significant elevation change, so it should really highlight what we see for moisture there. So we'll take a look at that again. The other really cool thing, as you harvest your crop, like your hopper in your combine, that crop will be given a grain, and then when you dump it in the silo, it'll hold that grain. So let's say, for example, we harvest, what have we got? Oats. So some of our fields, our oats are really dry, and we harvest that section, that crop grade sticks with the crop. And then if we harvest I'm going to get turned around here and get going the right way. If we harvest another section of the field that's wet, when we put it into our silo, it will blend. It will give us an average of that. So you can use that to kind of blend your crops. So, if you've got a really wet spot, maybe you want to wait a little bit till the high part of your hill is super dry, maybe even too dry. But then when you blend it with the spot that's too wet, it'll blend out and they'll both be grade A, if that makes sense. It's going to be really fun to play with. I'm looking forward to it. Now, of course, because your yield is not affected, in our case, we're using all of our crops right now for animal feed. It doesn't matter. We're not going to sell it. Well, I guess that's not true with the oats. I mean, our chickens, although they can use the oats, they certainly aren't going to use all the oats we're going to get. So we might want to sell some of that off. So we'll need to pay a little bit close attention to that. I think that covers that one. Right now, actually, between Oz and Chisel, I think we pretty much have on PC scripted mods that would allow you to play FS19 seasons. One of the ones that we're not using, and I might test it out, but is the crop rotation one. But we've got a crop rotation requirement within the red tape mod, so that's why I haven't put that in. I think that was Chisel who did that one. He's got a detailed crop rotation one which simulates the crop rotation we had to do in FS19. But that's the only reason I haven't put that in. And I did try to put the enhanced animal system in, but we know how that went. But actually, I was looking. Oz took over the Aero enhanced animal system, or realistic animal system, and I was kind of reading on that. Like, we might be able to put that one in. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on that. But that may come in the future. I don't know if it. How many headlands we should do here? Probably at least 3. Maybe I'll just spiral this entire field. Just do it by hand. I was thinking of just doing the headlands and then using steering assist for the center, but maybe we'll spiral. Anyways, I'll do some research on that and maybe we'll bring that mod in. But I did add another interesting script mod, and that is, what the heck was it called now? Shoot. You know what? I'll try and I'll put the title and the author up when I'm editing. But what it does is it allows you to have neighbors working in your fields. So it adds a little bit of life to the map. So you can actually see them out in their fields with their farm equipment working. And what it can do, one of two things. I think it can create its own kind of like contract. But in simple terms, basically it takes contracts and completes them with AI workers. I think that's really cool. Now we can't see any of our neighbors' fields here, so I haven't done anything. But you select them and turn them on. So that's another kind of really cool immersive mod. And I should have been more organized, and so I apologize. But I will put it up on the script title and the author. So we'll see some of our neighbors working in the fields. That's pretty cool. what I think we'll do is I have nattered on here for a long enough. Let's finish this mowing on this field up with a time lapse, shall we? So you sit back and enjoy the tunes. Okay, there's that job done. Hope you enjoyed that time lapse. Now I'm curious, let's run out here and let's check the moisture actually on one of the first windrows that we did. And let's see if we can see any difference, if it's dried down at all while we were mowing. Yeah, it did a little bit. I mean, I can't tell if this is the exact spot, but we were in this low area down at 14. So it has dropped a little bit. All right, well, I am off camera going to get that other field mowed there across the ditch here. And once I get that done, I will bring you back in because we've got something else to take care of. And we're going to let this grass dry for a while. And we'll come out and ted it, like, say, in a couple, 3 hours in game. So I will see you once that other field has been mowed. Catch up with you in a bit. Welcome back to the farm, everybody. It is now 11:30 in the morning. The day is flying by. After I finished mowing that other field, I came back to the farmyard here and I looked after all the animals and got them all fed. And I figured out who these folks are. I thought they might have been spies sent by Uncle Don. No, those are those darn government spies who are busy measuring. Oh, look at that shit. What? Who, me? Yeah, you. Measuring the freshness of the poo and all that sort of thing, levying fines. But look at the state of our tractor. We have had no way to clean our equipment since we moved here other than, I guess, using a garden hose. But that is all going to change because if we go in here and look at the used equipment, there is a nice wash trailer for sale here, someplace right there. Look at that, 58% off. We are going to buy that. I do like this mod, so we're going to take that. We'll put the long hose on it and that will be ours. Now we need to go in here, and it is under pallets, I believe. Yes, there is the wash we need for it. One of those we'll take. Okay, and actually we should find our pallets, and we need some more mineral feed for our cows. So we will, oops, where are you going, Farmer Murphy? We're going to buy that. Yes, we'll have that. Thank you very much. And lastly here, oh, we'll get back out one more. I don't want to be pulling that washer around the yard with our truck or our tractor. And of course, we only have the one vehicle. There it is right there. What we're going to do is we are going to, I don't know if we can back up. That's the way we want it. Yes, it is. We are going to lease one of these, because I can use that around the farm when the wife needs the truck. I could even throw the cheese in the back there and take it and sell it if I needed to. And we can use it to run out and check the fields. Again, it just frees the truck up for when our wife needs it, because we only have the one vehicle. And so I am going to lease that. What was that? We'll put down, we'll put down 20% on it. It's not worth very much, so we can probably only go to 3 years. And we are doing a lease, so we'll put a bio bubble at the end. So all of that is waiting for us down at the shop now. But I'm going to run down and grab that and bring it home off camera, because I have spent too much time talking already. Hard to believe. I didn't think I spent that much time on the moisture mod, but it turns out I did. So we are going to spend most of the rest of this episode farming. So let me go and get that, and we're going to give our tractor a wash before we go out and do our first tedding. So I will see you back here in just a flash. Well, I made it back from the shop. It is almost noon. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a pretty good load on that old Can-Am. Putting that pallet of mineral feed on there set her down pretty good. And I probably shouldn't have been driving it down the road in that condition. Well, you're not supposed to drive these down the road, period. The police wouldn't have been too happy with me, I'm sure. But I'm sure I'm not the first guy to do it, and I won't be the last. But I had a cool little segment planned here. What I wanted to do was fill the wash trailer up with the pallet of mineral feed on the back, and then wash our tractor, and then come over here and unload the pallet one bag at a time into our barn. But I couldn't fill the wash trailer with the pallet up in the back of the Can-Am for some reason, and I couldn't reliably pop the bags off one at a time with the pallet sitting in the back of the Can-Am. Sometimes the bags would fall on the floor and then I couldn't pick them up, or sometimes they'd pop off and they'd actually empty into the back of the Can-Am. I was only successful about getting 50% of the bags off. So when it comes to recording, that would need a pretty much a guaranteed 100% failure. So you're not going to see that. I got an idea where we might do something similar later on, but it wasn't going to work this time. So be it. We'll do it the way Giles wants us to do it. So now with this pressure washer, we need to add, well, the washing fluid, which I added at the shop. It's already in there. We need to add some water, which we will grab over here. And we need a little diesel. Yeah, for some reason the trailer wouldn't fill with the pallet in there. Turn the HUD on and make sure our water is in there. Yes, it is. Now I did a little bit ago throw 1,000 liters of diesel in our tank here, so we had some diesel on the farm. And if I remember correctly, I think the trigger is right about there. Oh, how about that? Worked out for once. And that should be full now. Yes, it is. So we can actually go and wash our tractor. Yeah, trying to get that little system work. I bet you I wasted an hour messing around trying to make that work. To no avail. All right, let's jump out here, come around to the back, and then voila. We can wash our dirty, dirty tractor. And it'll be nice and clean for the cinematic that we're going to do here in just a second. Look at that. I might as well give this a wash too, although it didn't seem like it was that dirty. There we go. We did it. Come on, back in. Thank you. All right. Well, I will meet you at the field, and we are going to do our first tedding. So I'll catch up with you in just 1 second. Well, before we ted this, let's take a measurement on our grass here and see where it is when we're starting. 12.7. So I'm pretty sure it has dried down, but not that much actually, surprisingly. Would have hoped it would have gone a little bit drier than that. So once we ted this, it will drop it down 3%. So I can't see us getting away without tedding this twice, at least. And actually, if we go in here and look, I think we got rain in the forecast coming up. Yeah, for about 10 o'clock. But we're noon now. Yeah, it's actually going to cool off this afternoon too. Yeah, I think we are going to do more tedding than I was hoping we are going to have to do. But anyways, let's get this first one done. And I'm going to do that in a cinematic. So sit back and enjoy the tune. Well, surprise! Yes, no cinematic. And in fact, I'm going to do something I don't think I've ever done before. I'm going to put a pin in an episode before I've actually edited all of the content I have recorded. I am actually recording this the day the episode is due to release, and I have jumped back in time on the map a little bit. So we are basically at where we're going to start to TED. Now, the reason I did this, twofold. One, the episode was going to get a little long if I carried on. And two, we had some issues with tedding this field. And I had some questions on basically the moisture system in general. And during our recording, I said, you know, I'm going to set up and do some testing. Well, I've decided to stop the episode here because it's plenty long enough. And we are going to do that testing and then carry on from this point in the next episode. Now, I'm already got that all set up. I'm really hoping to get that recorded and out before the next episode. And on there, I will go into the details of what the issues were and why I decided to do that test. And so if you care about that, you can find that information there. And if you don't care about that, well, you can just jump into the next episode. But for this episode, I am going to leave you there. So if you're still with me, I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode here on Sudbury, it's Farmer Murphy signing off.